4.7, we're going to talk about how geography affects climate. So we'll be able to explain how geography affects weather and climate. So obviously, so I just said in the title, that weather and climate are not just affected by the sun's energy, but also by geologic and geographic features such as mountains and ocean temperatures. So that's why it's not, for example, looking back at the deserts, that's why it's not all like perfectly at the 30-degree latitude. You know, there's more stuff going on than just the sun's energy and like where it is on the globe. All this stuff can affect it. First thing we'll talk about is whether or not it's near water. So you want to know that the specific heat for water is much higher than air. What that means is it takes a lot more energy to warm up the same amount of water by 1 degree Celsius than it does the same amount of air. Air will heat up really quickly and will cool down really quickly as well. But water takes a long time to heat up and it takes a long time to cool down. So if you live on the coast, so right near water, that means water moderates the temperature more. You're going to see that those areas have more temperate climates. So that means, you know, the highs and the lows are about the same. There's not drastic differences between the summer and the winter. And it's because the water is playing a big role in the climate of that area. It takes a lot to heat up and it takes a lot to cool down. Versus if it's very far inland away from water, the air is the dominant force of temperature moderation. And so that means in the presence of light, the sunlight, it's going to absorb a lot of heat and heat up really quickly, probably see really hot days. But then in the nighttime when there's no sunlight, it cools down very rapidly and can get very cold. That's why in deserts, even if it gets really, really hot during the day, it can actually get very, almost freezing at night because of the specific heat of air. Also, living near water can affect how much precipitation is received in that area. So if large bodies of water, there's a lot more evaporation occurring, so that means there's more moisture in the air, and then that means more precipitation, whether that's in the form of rain, if it's in a warmer environment, or in the form of snow, if it's in a colder environment. So that's, for example, why the Great Lakes can have such an impact on snowfall in that area, because it picks up so much evaporation and turns it into snow, and they get these huge lake effect snows by being in this large area. The next thing we're going to talk about is whether or not this land is near a mountain. So we see this really interesting phenomenon where the side of a mountain that's facing a body of water, a large body of water. So for example, this is an example of the Rocky Mountains and Pacific Ocean. The water coming off of this ocean will turn into a lot of rain. So it slopes upwards, it cools down and condenses. But then by the time it gets over the mountain, all that moisture is now gone. There's not another source of water in the mountains. So when it goes over the other side of the mountain, we see a desert form. So that's why, near the coast of the Pacific Ocean, we have all these, it's very rainy, very, lots of vegetation. But then to the east side of the Rocky Mountains, there's more deserts in that area, and that's because of this large rain shadow effect. So in summary, describe how Earth's geography affects weather and climate, namely things like mountains and the proximity to water.